Hello there. I need your help. My name is Lady Sarah Joseph, and I'm a graduate student at the University of Texas at Arlington. I returned to school for one reason, and that is to make people aware and to expand legislation surrounding predatory pastors or criminal clergy. You know, we've all heard about the priest who's taken advantage of children. But this situation is different, but it's still wrong. And as a matter of fact, it's a felony here in Texas. A pastor who uses his position to prey upon, P-R-E-Y, upon people who he ministers to is a felony in Texas and Minnesota. Now, this topic is dear to my heart because I was married to a man for 25 years as a pastor, who was a pastor, or he was a pastor. And I had no idea that he was having relations with people in our church. But he was. And when it all came out, the people blamed me, saying that I must be the problem because he's just a man. You know, he's just a man, and I must have been the problem. And they really remained on his side until he married the girl who he was having sex with in the church. When they found out that they wouldn't be his next wife, then they turned on him. But the long and short of it is, this happens often, and he and I discussed it all the time. I'm aware of many pastors in the area in which I live in, and then pastors across the country who use their positions to sway the women. I heard a comedian say that pastors like pimps. And when you think about it, as I know now, there's some truth to that for those who are not careful to recognize that vulnerable people will do things to try to get these people's attention. I never blame the young lady who was having sex in the car, at my house, in my husband's office, at the church. I never blamed her. When I found out about it, my, of course, blame was on him because he knew better. He would go behind closed doors and meet with people one-on-one all the time. And I encouraged it. I would say, you know, my husband's a great man to talk to. Call him. Here's his phone number. Up until the week that I found out that he was a cheater, I did this. I am grateful that I survived what I survived. I worked 16-hour days over almost 15 years to help him pursue his dreams of pastoring a church. And as I found out later, not only was I personally given that particular young lady money out of my pocket for her to help her with her bills, but I was taking care of my household, the church, and her household through my paycheck as I worked in the department that I worked for. As a matter of fact, that brings me to this point. I work for a large police department in my area. And when I found out that he was having an affair, coincidentally, I also found out at that time that his actions were a felony offense in Texas. I went to the local chief or a chief and I talked with him about it, and he said, that's not something we're going to pursue. And my thing was, but it's a crime on the books. Why wouldn't we pursue it? And his thing was, those are two consenting adults. There's no way we have the manpower or the desire to tell two adults what they can and can't do. What this particular chief did not understand clearly was that my ex-husband, like many other men, used their positions to take advantage of people who were vulnerable. In Texas and Minnesota, it's a felony for a pastor to use their position of authority to seduce their congregants. There are 11 other states. They are Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware, Iowa, Kansas, Mississippi, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, and then, Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. Each of those states have rules or written guidelines with verbiage about a pastor, a clergy person taking advantage of their congregants. But what I need is a national campaign so that we together collectively let people know if your pastor is flirting with you, honey, that's not flattery. That's probably a felony. And the thing of it is, women, well, I shouldn't say women, people enjoy attention from people who are in authority, right? But we need billboards to say predatory pastors exist. So if your pastor is having an affair with you or asking you to do things that you know that are against what's morally right, you need to report him or her. So I have a lot of different ideas on different things we can do to make this happen. Nobody should be behind closed doors with someone who's putting their hands on them, their body, their physical body, especially going to a church. What I find amazing is that most people are not aware that the First Amendment prohibits the government to say how a church can perform, what the hours are, what they can talk about, nothing. On the other hand, to be a therapist, a counselor, a doctor of any kind, a social worker, you have to go through many, many years of training and education to make yourself aware of what to look for and how to help someone. But to be a pastor, there are no minimum requirements at all. There's no school or education. Anybody can be a pastor. And with that, they get tax deductions. And with that, they get an automatic, platform to prey upon people. What I didn't know at the time, and I do know now, is what is called transference and countertransference. When you take on someone's problems or, you're crossing a line. I see now how my ex-husband did that routinely. I didn't know then that what I know now. So fortunately, I got me some help, some real help, and I've survived this. However, I am aware of many, many, many women who've had sexual relationships with their pastors, and also pastors who were married, and then the woman who was his wife, how she's been subjected or having to deal with that and all the politics, just the love, because as Christians, we're taught to love marriages for better or for worse. And I struggled initially with what I was going to do with the situation. And after thinking on it for about 4 months, I filed for divorce, and that was that. It was the best thing I could have ever done. When you're in a relationship with a toxic person, they make you sick. And you can't see how to get better or that you are sick until you're out of the situation. Regarding women who've been involved sexually with their pastor, and I'm just saying women and pastor is male, but it could be any sex, one or the other or both or whatever. It's dangerous, it destroys, and the person who goes to their pastor for help usually winds up being tossed away when he's done with them, and he's moving on to the next victim, and they leave more broken than they were to begin with. So I'm starting a platform. It's going to be called Joseph's Cloak or Coat. Joseph's Cloak or Coat. A coat and a cloak are two coverings, right? But a cloak is used to conceal disguise. And the number of people who've committed this crime and they victimized people, it's just way too many. So what I want to do is compel law enforcement to take these reports and let's put these predators on the predatory list that they belong on. Another issue is that from state to state, people move from one state. I know of a pastor who started here in Texas. In fact, he started in Oklahoma, got in trouble there, came to Texas, got in trouble here, went to prison, is a sex offender, and now he's in Florida leading a congregation, and he's a sex offender on the sex offender registry. People in his home church now are they defend him. He's a great speaker, and their thing is God can use anyone. Well, I'm here to say God can use anyone, but if with all the millions of people who may be qualified to pastor, why put our people, our children especially, in harm's way by allowing a person who's been convicted of a sexual offense to lead a congregation? The only way this is going to work is the states being connected and there being a centralized database that's maintained to make sure these people aren't allowed to go from state to state re-victimizing people. That's the key. Honorable people don't behave dishonorably. We all sin. We all fallen short of the glory of God. We were born into sin, shapen by iniquity. So we all have the propensity, but there's certain things that will disqualify a person from being able to be around or run rampant around people who are unsuspecting. And that's what we have to protect against. When some people are scarred, it's wounds sometimes never heal, right? And right now, I can't get either of my two daughters to go in a church, period. And that breaks my heart. If I didn't know God for myself, I would never, ever go in church again, ever. But because I have my own relationship with the Lord for myself, I recognize I have something to do. I have, many people have told me this is not a popular topic and nobody's going to want to support you. Well, I am going to ignore what they had to say and go forth because this needs to be out there. Okay, I look forward to producing more content to make more people aware. I must go forward. I need your help, your support, and please pass this on. Thank you.